All right, we're good to go.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Welcome to the Standards and Assessment Committee meeting. We have put on a special meeting. We're trying to finish up a resolution for the 250th anniversary or birthday, I guess not necessarily, it could be anniversary, but birthday of our Declaration of Independence. So with that being said, I'm going to let board members introduce themselves. I'm trying to decide where to start here. Well, Board Member Real, you're first on my screen, so will you go first?
First on your screen and first in your heart. I'm Sarah Reel and I represent District 5.
Thank you. Board Member Wood?
Hi, I am Leanne Wood. I represent District 4, South Davis County, North Salt Lake.
Thank you. Board Member Green?
Yes, I'm Emily Green. I represent District 14.
And Vice Chair Brinton?
Board Member Brinton, I represent District 15 down in the southern part of the state.
And Leanne, she doesn't remind me, but she is the vice chair in our leadership here. And I often don't mean to, but I forget. I always put board member on it. So thanks all of you. I represent Northern Utah, which is the whole top of the state in District 1. So we are grateful that you're all here today. We made a number of motions. We had some great discussions last week. And I do believe there's another draft that's available if someone wanted to move that. Or we can continue with the draft we're on, either way. So.
Can I just clarify real quick from our agenda? We've got the draft to SNA with markup resolution commemorating, and then we have the clean copy, I think is where we ended with in our actual meeting, correct?
That would be correct.
Okay.
Yep, if the public is looking online, that would be correct.
Okay, and then the updated one, the new draft is draft 3, the resolution commemorating America, which includes some of that additional clarity that we didn't have time to on listing out some specific examples.
Yes, that would be accurate. And we have that listed here. So we've got on one side of the document, just so community can see, there is where we ended. No, that's
actually this is the one that you would move to be draft 3. The one that you ended with is this version here, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
On the right. Yeah.
Is there a way to have the cleaned up draft 2 version and the draft 3 version and kind of look at them? Because I'm not sure that I'm ready to just say, let's just do draft 3. Sure. I'm liking the clarity of 2 and the addition of the paragraphs with why we're doing this for the schools and sending out this message. And I have some concerns. I just don't know that it flows together and it keeps the focus on America's 250 and the Declaration of Independence. So I'm not with the bulleted examples where they kind of jump through history. My goal would be to get something that just is like, happy birthday, America. We love our country. This is our founding. It is the birthday of the Declaration of Independence, and keep the focus on the Declaration and our founding principles. So I'm not sure if the bullet points where we're not taking all of them. I'm not sure that jumping around with a few of them works the best.
Okay, so what would you like to just go down through some recommended changes that are on draft 3, and then people can decide if we want to move that or not, or if we want to move those over to draft 2 pieces of that? Is that kind of would that be okay to do that?
Sure.
Okay, so let's, as I kind of help put some of this together, let me walk down through it. So, and there hasn't been a motion, but let me just walk through some of the suggestions in draft 3. So on line 11, it would be striking pre-existing, and it would just protecting those rights, which refers to the rights referenced in the paragraph. And so pre-existing just seemed to be a little bit too much language there, not necessary. And then on line 15, it was moving up a Someone help me. I'm moving up one of the paragraphs from below and moving it up in a different location. I think it was moving paragraph 5 up to paragraph where paragraph 4 was. So if you want to go back up, Leah, or who's there? So it's moving it up, and it would be, let me just read it out. America was founded as a constitutional republic, establishing separation of powers and federalism under the written constitution, and thereby avoiding the fatal tendencies of a democracy. The stability of our republic relies upon self-governance, a principle requiring the citizens govern their own conduct according to moral virtue. And then there's a suggestion to take out internal conscience, where we've already talked about moral virtue, and put societal order. And then to actually put the quote in, John Adams stated, "Our Constitution was made only for moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate for the government of any other." And then if you go down, another recommendation here is moving up paragraph 14. It would say America's history from the past 250 years has been marked by the prevalence of faith, divine providence, and her history affirms a clear and a firm reliance on God and the Bible. And then 34 would be pulled over from the original document or pieces of it, and it would say, whereas since America's founding, fasting, humiliation, prayer, and days of thanksgiving have been practiced by presidents, governors, and legislators. For example, in 1621, the Pilgrims gave thanks to God for bringing them native friends and allies and helping them survive. And then March 30th, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln called for a day of humiliation, fasting, and prayer during the Civil War. And then June 6, 1944, President Franklin D. Roosevelt gave a 6-minute prayer on behalf of our troops on D-Day. 1953 to 1961, Dwight D. Eisenhower started the National Prayer Breakfast and added reference to God in the Pledge of Allegiance, currency, and national motto. And then on line 44, whereas the American system is built upon the idea that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, and it would strike the rest of that paragraph. And then finally, it moves down the public education piece to be therefore resolved. So it would be now therefore be it resolved. Public education plays a vital role in preparing students to be informed, responsible, and engaged citizens capable of understanding the nation's founding principles, respecting rights of conscience, and participating thoughtfully in the civic responsibilities. So that was pretty quick, but those are recommended changes, or at least that's what draft 3 has in it. So
my question with this one is, let's see. Sorry, I am just realigning up. I've got these two lined up next to each other here on my screen. So we've expanded out. So on draft 2, the clean copy, line 35, where it says, whereas America's history from the past 250 years has been marked by the prevalence of faith and divine providence. So that one shows up on line. That one stays the same. After that, we expand into examples. And just so the public is aware, those examples, it adds a little bit more space, but on draft 2, we're on 1 page and a quarter. So on draft 3, that adds, I don't know what we are now because it's still kind of a fully edited document, but we are on. Yeah, I don't know. I know that we're trying to keep it to 2. I would think that we are still at 2 easily. And I do find them relevant, again, because from the original draft, we gave, you have to build out on your whereases to even make a resolve make sense. And so that's why I do like including some specific, very tightened up examples that came from the original draft, again, because it builds on that. It clarifies controversy, it prevents confusion, because it calls on very pivotal moments in the formation of our nation as we know it now, and some of the practices that still guide and shape our nation and how we're involved with it. So I would like to keep that. So probably with that, I would probably like to move draft 3.
Okay, so before the committee is to move draft 3. Any discussion to that?
I'd probably added discussion before the motion, sorry.
No, usually you do it's okay to make the motion and then discuss. We've been traditionally in committee at least doing it the other way, so. Okay,
I'll just comment to draft
Yeah.
3. I appreciate that they have been very, very narrowed down. It does seem to take it, and I appreciate Member Green's talking about the flow of where we have been and where we're coming, but it does seem to make this huge jump. And I really like the focus on the Declaration of Independence. That's the 250th birthday, right? That is what we're celebrating. So I prefer draft 2 with the ending of draft 3. So just know in my vote to move draft 3, I prefer draft 2. So
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree. I prefer draft 2 to keep it with draft 2, but bring in that ending element with the focus of the schools from draft 3. And I would love to send out something that lists all of the historical elements as an addendum, or something that we send out maybe separate from the resolution as resources to look up to back up the why, like historical references or something separate maybe from the resolution, because they all are very important parts of our history. They just aren't part of the Declaration of Independence. So,
Okay. All right.
kind of my thought.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll take a vote. This, I think, help me if I'm in order. We vote to adopt this, and then we could amend from there. Is that correct? Someone help me make sure I'm doing this right. So this wouldn't be just to move it forward, it would be to adopt the version that we're working on, right, Angela?
Yeah, you would adopt this draft 2
Okay.
and then we move.
And then we could work on it from there. We're not, okay.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so the motion before the committee is to move draft 3. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
no,
No.
Okay, that motion fails. Board Member Earl and Board Member Green voted for it, and Board Member Brinton, Board Member Rill, and Board Member, who did I miss? Wood voted against it. Okay, so we still have draft 2 before us.
Chair Earl, would you do that again with members? So Earl.
So Earl and Green voted in favor. And then Board Member Wood, Green, Rill, and who did I miss? Brinton
And
voted in opposition.
Wood voting in opposition. Thank you.
Okay, and so with the motion currently before the committee is still draft 2 then.
Could we make how do we make a motion to bring in the ending part from draft 3?
So you could just do that. You could say, I'd like to amend draft 2 to include lines 49 through 52.
Okay.
And then it would need to strike it up above, I would think too, though, because I think it's listed up above as a whereas.
yeah, and I think it would almost be 44, right? If you want to take out that part that we thought was inaccurate, that the students have ultimate sovereign authority. I think
it's up to you if you would like to,
and
or
anyway,
if Joanne's making that motion, she could include both or the one.
I can let Member Wood make the motion too, if that's, because we did want to strike the students having sovereign authority, right? It's adults that have that sovereign authority, not students. So
that's what was mentioned right at the end of last meeting. So
right.
Let's do one at a time if we could.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would probably work better for clarity.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
So
that's okay.
let's do, so the motion is to move over lines 49 through 52. Is this correct? Board Member Brenton, is that what?
But, oh, yes, I think.
Well, it would have to be 53 as well, because there's a modification to line 53, right? Striking the now therefore and adding further be resolved.
Further resolved. Okay, so
Okay, so
line 49 through 53, and then that would replace what lines? This is hard to keep me see.
well,
Okay,
oh,
toggle
yeah.
between screens and see what it's replacing exactly.
Let me, yep. Give me just a second. I gotta open another screen too. Okay.
So just to clarify, Member Brenton, are you trying to bring in from draft 3 the paragraph that states, now therefore be it resolved, public education plays a vital role in preparing students to be informed, so forth?
Yes, I want to bring that part in and up on lines 44, where it talks about the American system is built on the idea that governments, because is that already in there? Oh yeah, that is
No,
already
that
in
was,
there. That was already in draft 2, right?
no, that was not. That was
Governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed. Was that not either?
that would need to be moved over
Yeah, I'd like to
or
bring.
modified.
Let's
Once again, let's vote 49 through 53, and then we'll work with another revision after that. Does that sound all right?
Okay, 53 just through be it further resolved. I mean, that's
Yes.
further is really what we're changing. Okay.
Can we read it as a formal motion then, just so I am clear?
Nope. That's what I'll do that. So we are moving over from draft 3 to draft 2, this paragraph or this stanza. Now, therefore, be it resolved, public education plays a vital role in preparing students to be informed, responsible, and engaged citizens capable of understanding the nation's. Did you want to include the founding principles in that instead of history, Joanne?
The nation's founding principles and history.
Okay,
I
so
think it should
founding
say
principles
and history.
and history. Respecting rights of conscience and participating thoughtfully in civic responsibilities. And then there would be the second, therefore, would actually state, be it further resolved. So it
And
would
maybe
be
it should probably say founding principles, comma, history, comma, respect. I don't know if respecting rights of conscience and does that fit grammatically with the way that's stated? That's reading a little off to me. Plays a vital role in citizens capable of understanding the nation's founding principles, history. I wonder if that should be and history, period. I'm not sure. Who respect rights of. I'm just not sure. I'm looking for a little clarity on grammar so that flows correctly because it's reading clunky to me.
And I think one of the things I don't think there's usually two sentences in a
right. There's
stanza, so
not.
I think that's where we're trying to prevent that.
Yeah. Any
maybe it's a founding principles and history, including something like that, including I don't know, respecting rights of conscience and participating thoughtfully in civic responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I guess it could be, we've got the
respecting rights of conscience and I think it could just, does it need to say thoughtfully participating in civic responsibilities or engaging, respecting rights of conscience or because we're trying to prepare them, right? That our goal is education and preparing them to be able to participate meaningfully and with a proper foundation.
Yes, AAG Doan.
Well, just a thought on on wording, maybe between engaged, on line 50, between engaged citizens and capable, you could have, instead of a comma, it should be engaged citizens who are capable of understanding the nation's founding principles and history. And then instead of semicolons, it would be commas.
I like that a lot.
Okay. All right.
That's our goal. Yeah, that's.
Board Member Brenton, is that where you want to
I like
land on
that.
that? Okay. Are there any additional comments to this particular amendment? Go ahead and speak out because I can't necessarily see the hands. If not, I'm just going to go ahead and I'll read it out again so we can take the vote.
I liked just the replacement of history with founding principles, if we're really tying it back to just the
And that's
Declaration
fine.
of Independence, but
And I'm fine with that
share
too.
my 2 cents.
Yeah.
I
like
mean, it kind of accomplishes the same thing. Oh, sorry, Board Member Green, were you speaking?
Oh, it's okay. I actually did like history because we actually just took out all of the historical references from the first draft. So plugging in history again, that there actually is a history that we won't talk about is there. So I would like to keep history if possible, please. I think it expands it out to what we just stripped from the original document.
And I think history is a good, I think it's a good add, actually. Are capable of understanding the founding principles and history, which sometimes it seems like we're struggling to understand history.
True.
So I don't mind if it's there. Any other comments on that? Okay, I think we'll go ahead and move this. So the motion is to move over to draft 2. Now, therefore, be it resolved, public education plays a vital role in preparing students to be informed, responsible, and engaged citizens who are capable of understanding the nation's founding principles and history, respecting rights of conscience, and participating thoughtfully in civic responsibilities. And then we would be modifying the next line to strike now therefore, and we will be adding to be further resolved. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I heard 4. Board Member Green, did you? I didn't.
Or ask,
Okay.
you haven't asked if anyone's opposed, I guess you should.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is anyone opposed? My apologies. I think that passed unanimously from what I could hear. Okay. There any other recommendations?
Then do we need a motion to bring in lines 44 and 45 from draft 3? And is it 48 as well? Or 47 and 48, our land, or was that struck? I can't tell with no, it looks
Well, it
like.
would need to, if you wanted to bring over what's written there, it's adding to
And
that
is that
stanza.
needed? Like, I need to compare, like, is that not stated anywhere that our natural rights, because that's part of realizing our natural rights that come from, well, governments
Board
derive
Member
their just.
Brenton, if you look at lines 28 and 31 from the original document,
Oh, it has that.
it has the consent of the governed, but then it also, it had that student sovereignty or sovereignty there,
Oh.
sovereignty.
So yeah, if we could change lines 30 and 31, I mean, is there a way to incorporate?
So it could be, I'm just throwing this out there, the idea of actually quoting a little bit more of the Declaration of Independence, which says that the idea that governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed, it kind of articulates the same idea, but it's written a little different. And then striking the rest of that, if that's what you want.
How do you think that reads best? Let's see.
So, oh yeah, sorry. Do you have any additional thoughts on that? let you guys read it and see. Do you need me to read it out again, someone? So possibly it could be, at least that's what was recommended in draft 3, whereas the American system is built upon the idea that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. And striking the rest, or you can keep what's there.
What was so transformational with the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, right, was the idea that it was a protection against the government. They listed all these grievances. We've got all these reasons where the government has overstepped, where they have all these places where their rights have been trampled. And so they were so passionate about putting protections in order and recognizing, that this system was going to be different and built upon consent of the governed and protecting us from the government. So I love, the highlight on this brand new form of government that they created and that has had such an amazing 250 years to celebrate.
Do you want, I wondered if maybe we move over that language, the idea that governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed, and then maybe leave in there wherein the people are the principals of their government and elected officials are their agents still. I don't know if I love the agents. I don't know. Some of that language is maybe not as clear, but.
Could we move lines 44 and 45 up somewhere where we talk about well, on the clean, with the markup version, it would be somewhere between 2 and 3, because we added in the language that government's sole legitimate purpose is to protect those pre-existing rights. Is there a way that we could merge that, whereas the American system is built upon the idea that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, and that the government's sole purpose is to protect the rights granted through the Declaration of Independence? Like, could we tell that story better?
I don't know, maybe. What are you thinking, Board Member Wood?
Well, it's because we throw in paragraph 2, we throw in that line about the government's purpose.
Of which draft?
This is draft 2 with
draft
the
2. Okay.
Yeah, draft
Line
2. Drags 10 and 11, right, is where it starts.
Okay.
The government's sole purpose is to protect those pre-existing rights.
Gotcha. Thank you.
It seems like that's a great place for us to be talking about why we have government to begin with. Is that the system is built upon the idea that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the government.
And maybe we just add 44 and 45 into this second paragraph?
Or creating
so maybe it could say, and the government's sole legitimate purpose is to protect those, we can leave pre-existing if you want, pre-existing rights, and then this system is built upon the idea that governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed. Does that flow how you're thinking?
I don't know. What do you remember, Green? Does this flow at all to you? I'd love your feedback on that.
I'm sitting here reading it as we're discussing it. I think adding that probably is a little repetitive. And just to clarify, I'm having kind of a hard time with the third draft, or kind of with how we're working, I'll be honest. So just to clarify, we are working from draft 2, correct?
We're working from draft 2. People were asking about language from draft 3.
Moving it over to draft 2.
Yeah.
So on draft 3, can you tell me what line that you are reading from right now that you're wanting to?
44, I believe, is the line we're kind of questioning or looking at maybe moving it over, kind of working with.
Okay. So on mine, it says 28, but I think I'm in the right spot. 28, whereas the American system is built upon the idea that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the government. Governed, not government, governed. And so you're, Member Wood, you're wanting to take that line and possibly add it at the end of paragraph 2 in draft 2, correct?
Yeah, it just seems like it's the same idea that we have the reason why this government was formed, and the only reason that it exists, and where it gets its power from.
So
And if it's repetitive, then we're repeating it in two separate areas to begin with. So we kind of need to look at, is it necessary if you think it's those. So anyway, I noticed Member Rail has her hand up. So
Member Rail?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that I like this amendment, and I think it's a really important piece of, like, for the people, by the people, reminding them about how it is the consent of the people that our government, and how the people hold the power in our government, and that's what makes our republic so unique. So I like putting that there.
Okay, do you like the language? Let me just read it out. So it would be attached to
The quote
the
from the
second
Declaration of
stanza.
Independence.
Yep, which is
Yeah.
attached to the second stanza, and there's the context above it, but then I'm just reading the end of that. It would say that the government's sole legitimate purpose is to protect those pre-existing rights. The American system is built upon the idea that governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed.
Okay, I just dropped some language in the chat that maybe without being redundant, we could merge. For the American system is built upon the idea that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed, wherein the people are the principals of their government and elected officials are their agents, necessitating that students understand their role as the ultimate sovereign authority in our land. But
I like it moved and simplified, and then the rest of the paragraph gone. To be honest with you, it just leans into it just enough for me. I don't know. Other people's thoughts?
I don't hate that version, but I just think that it will fly right over our students' heads about the role as the ultimate sovereign authority. I like teach popular sovereignty, and they're like in college, so
okay, I can understand that.
Any additional suggestions on this one? Okay, so if we move this up, that would mean, I just want to make sure I'm clear, we would strike whatever language is left, right, on the paragraph that's on line 44, or not 44. What's it in this draft? So it would be 20, we would strike that stanza, right? 28, lines 28 through 31 on draft 2, and we'd bring portion of that or some language up. It's not exactly that language there to the second stanza of this document, which is on line 7, or it starts on line 7. Does that sound right to everyone? Okay, I will read it in full context. I'm going to read that whole piece just so as I'm reading it, you can listen to see if it blends well. So that full stanza would read, whereas the Declaration of Independence boldly and clearly identified the political philosophy of America when it stated, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that the government's sole legitimate purpose is to protect those pre-existing rights. And where's the... Okay. There we go. Thank you. Sorry, and it's so small on my screen too. But here, let me exit out of my... Okay, let's see.
Let me make it bigger. Maybe that will help too.
Thank you. I'm jumping from one to the other and then it's so small. So the pre-existing rights, the American system is built upon the idea that governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed. And then we would strike those bottom lines, 28 through 31. Okay, if there's no additional discussion, wait just a second. Okay, we'll go ahead and take a vote on that. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Board Member Real, I didn't hear you. Okay, any opposed? Maybe I better just do that. Okay, that sounds like it was a unanimous vote. Okay, are there any other recommendations on draft 2? I think we do need to clean up, because we moved lines 32 through 34 down as a be it resolved. We'd probably need a motion to strike those lines. So I'll just make that motion that we remove lines 32 through 34 because we put those down further. Any discussion to that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, I think we've kind of cleaned up what we've changed. Are there any additional recommendations? If not, we can go ahead and make a motion to move it forward. Give you just a minute to look though.
Yeah, can we move, let's see, if you'll go to draft 3 and scroll up a little bit. Okay, nope, stop right there. Then maybe I think I'm in the wrong. Let me see if I have the draft that's numbered. Is that in the markup that's numbered for 2?
This one is
I'm figuring out where you're getting the nice pleating on the side. Do I have that anywhere?
it's no, because the Google version messed up the numbering. So
Okay.
read some words and tell me what the words are and I'll find it
Okay,
for
well,
you.
it's the lines, it's 31 through 33 in draft 3.
Okay.
But where
America's
are those?
history.
Yeah, what are the lines in 2?
Okay, so America's history is 35 to 37.
Okay, I'd like to move 35 through 37 up. And I will see if I can tell you where they are. Up above the language. Below 14.
Oh, I like that.
Okay, so you would like that whole stanza, so to speak, move to what location?
After line 14.
After line 14. Okay,
yes.
So that stanza before it talks about founding fathers included ordered liberty, equality, natural rights, including defense of self, community, and nation, freedom of speech and press, and the free exercise of religion. And then we would be adding in
Making that paragraph 4, moving that to be paragraph 4.
Okay.
I think that gives it a more prominent place. Yeah.
Okay, so you would be just moving up, whereas America's history from the past 250 years has been marked by the prevalence of faith, divine providence, and her history affirms a clear and firm resilience on God and the Bible. Is that the move?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And then we go through, they recognize historical events and texts. So it ties into
Okay.
Those.
Can I speak to that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
So I considered that as well, actually, at one point. I probably won't vote for this. And my arguments for it is that it kind of, I felt like, brought it all together. Mm-hmm. That it's worked for the last 250 years because of, and in order for us to secure it for another 250 years, be it resolved, that type of thing isn't like rejected. So for me, it's like we educate at the beginning, we fill it in. we remind the powerful history that we have, and then we resolve to carry that forward in the future. So I do like it where it stands right now.
Do you think that makes it stand out more? I can see that. Yeah.
Just as like that kind of, you know how they say you tie back your beginning in the end paragraph, like in English class. Like I just feel like that does that. So
I can see that. Yeah.
Keep it there, but I can see where you're coming from.
Leanne, are you wanting to still move it, or is that
Well, I'm
argument
trying
compelling?
well, in some ways, but right now, if we end it, so we have whereas okay, and twice I think we're ending our whereas statements with whereas historical primary sources, including the Northwest Ordinance of 17, record that religion, morality, and knowledge are necessary to good government and the happiness of mankind, and therefore must be encouraged through our schools. Now, therefore, be it resolved, we reaffirm our commitment and that the public education plays.
But isn't that draft 3, not draft 2?
No.
Yeah,
Sorry.
So
okay. That's yeah.
So we mention that it's important for our students that it should be encouraged through our schools, and then we resolve that we're going to teach our students that. So that's where I was tying the schools into what we want our students to be taught, and I was tying in this reliance to the Bible with all of these areas where our founders have used it. So that's why that's why the move. But put it to a vote, and I'm happy where it lands.
Okay. Any other comment, Board Member Brill?
Thank you, Chair. I feel like there's this weird line for me where I feel like we put too much emphasis on religion in some places, especially Christian religion. And I feel like that's something for the home and for the families. I don't think it's like an important thing that we should be talking about in school. I think there are moments in history when we have seen different leaders in history in a bazillion ways find divine inspiration or whatever that has led them to making these historical incredible things. But it feels like this leans way too far into talking to our students about the Bible and less into the people who were inspired by the Bible and then the principles that they took into our government. Those principles that they took into our government, I think, are the important things as a public education system for our students to know, not necessarily it's because of the Bible that they did, you know what I mean? Like, because as I've mentioned before, we're a country that is founded on religious freedom. Like, for example, like when in the piece in there that I think is cut now about the Pilgrims, I was thinking about how the Pilgrims, they left their countries because of religious persecution. And so I think like lumping all of this into one religion box isn't really a great way to go for our students. I'm just saying this publicly, because I'm going to be voting no on this. I just think there's less emphasis in this document about the principles and the strength of our government and more leaning on to it's because of, these divine pieces. So that's just my opinion, but of course you guys can vote however you'd like.
Okay, Board Member Brenton.
Yeah, I understand Board Member Real's argument and the thoughts pervading today in the fear of religion, but in studying our nation's founding and in teaching those things and those principles, this was something that all our founding fathers believed on or in. The Bible was quoted 60% in the literature when you go back to their writings and read about their lives and why they did this. And the Pilgrims did flee religious persecution. And so the main thing they put into our Constitution, and it's in our state constitution, is that we're free from sectarian control. So I think it's important to recognize, like, what does that mean? What is the difference? And teachers can go into that more, but I don't think we should be afraid to talk about the foundations of our country. And it was foundational that we were a Christian nation. The Bible was part of that. They wanted freedom for all religions to exercise according to their dictates. But the early founding fathers and their writings about school, it was kind of a given to them that the Bible would be used. They used that as a textbook to study history, to study writing, to study grammar. I think so. So we've come so far to be careful that I think there has to be a balance as we look to our founding and what are our documents founded on. And I think we shouldn't. We don't have to force it. We're not forcing one religion on anybody, but this was the foundation of our country. I guess that's
I totally agree with you, and I see 100% your perspective. I guess I see it from like a lot of times we talk about things that should not be the role of a teacher or an educator to teach students. It should be something that families teach. It should be discussed at home. And religion to me is something that falls into that category. I don't want educators expanding on Christian religion, unless it's a religion class or something, but I don't want them to be emphasizing that in that way. I think that the students should learn that these people that created our government and sought independence, they were inspired by, their God. But then leave it to the kid to come home and say, oh, I learned about the Declaration of Independence. Here's our little resolution. And the parents like, oh, wow, let me tell you about how, based on their religion or their spiritual or religious beliefs, they can expand on that. So it's a similar argument to a lot of times we see that like this isn't the role of an educator to talk about this. This is the role of the family. And I fall deeply into this is the role of the family and not an educator to talk about those things. But as I said, I mean, like I know that I'm in the minority on that thought. So I just wanted to make sure that I was clear about where I was standing on that.
Okay, we're gonna vote on the amendment, and then if there's additional comments on the full document, I feel like we might have got ahead of ourselves.
Sorry,
that's okay.
Well, this is a section that talks about it. So
okay.
I'm like,
okay.
Good discussion. It's good discussion to have, and I appreciate.
Discussion.
Well, and
we'll circle. We'll circle back.
Can I just say one thing too?
Overall, like I really like a lot of this. So I'm not trying. I just wanted to point out that piece. But overall, like there's a lot of this I really like. So it's not like I'm saying no to the whole thing.
I know that there's sections. I think it's in the 4th grade. I actually have the book, and all of it is on Muslim. In fact, the elementary school that we used to go to, the hallways were completely lined with all of the history, the visions of Muhammad, like the whole thing. Just lined the hallways of the school. They spent like 2 weeks or something. They made huge posters, a very big deal. You could make those arguments that is the crossing of, or maybe that it's inappropriate for the religion to be taught, but it was. And I just find that where, again, I guess in my arguments from our previous meeting is that their belief systems formed countries, and that belief system also forms their form of government, and is what guides their laws and their justice systems, and have you not. So ours is unique in that it came from a very specific realm, and in that it carved out a very unique way that freedom was described politically and implemented in practice. So, but we can move on.
Yeah, and we can circle back too. Let's make this amendment to either go up or down, and then if there's any other amendments, and then people can give their final thoughts or whatever, or we can. I'm easy either way, but okay.
Leah, can you highlight what we're like the exact?
Yeah, we're looking at moving.
We're here.
Yeah. Would like
Is
to
that
move.
what you needed? Does that help?
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
totally. Thank you.
Should like to move the paragraph, which is currently at the end of the resolution, up towards the beginning, and it would be sitting after. And I'll read the one it's before, but or it's after. Whereas the core political beliefs of the founding fathers include ordered liberty, equality, natural rights, including defense of self, community, and nation, freedom of speech and press, and the free exercise of religion. And then should like to move this up underneath there. And this is the piece that's moving. It's whereas America's history from the past 250 years has been marked by the prevalence of faith in divine providence, and her history affirms a clear and firm reliance on God and the Bible. All those in favor of moving that up from the end, go ahead and vote. Yeah,
Aye.
if you're in favor.
Aye.
Okay, that's Board Member Wood. Any other ayes on that? Those opposed?
No.
No. Okay, so there's 4, if I heard that right, 4 in opposition. Board Member Wood voted in favor. Board Member Green, Board Member Earl, Board Member Rill, and Board Member Brenton are not in favor of the move. Are there any other amendments? And if not, I'm open for, if you want to share your thoughts on moving this forward, and then we can take a vote unless there's any amendments.
I think I'm okay as it stands right now. I would be anxious maybe just to get this new draft, just like the clean version so we can read through it. I did go through and read this out loud because it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good idea.
The flow of everything. So
Could we get that in
Sure, we
backup
could
and
do a 15-minute break or something and
yeah,
clean
that
version.
would be
Do you
good.
want to take a break and take a minute to read through it before we move forward? Is that what I'm hearing?
Or could we just pull it up and maybe you know,
Yeah,
Like
who
a
has the
clean-
most
Is there
beautiful
a way
reading
for the-
voice?
Leah,
yeah.
Leah has
To see
her
it?
hand up.
because there may be, I don't know how many
Yeah.
people are watching that might want to be reading the clean draft as well.
Okay,
Might be good to see.
Leah, do you have a comment?
Yes. I'm sure Jennifer and I can make that happen. If you want to take a break, we can come up with a clean copy. And if you remember, at the end of board meeting, at the end of your meeting last week, two of the, oh, Jen, where are your copy? Dang it. 2 of your whereas statements actually had 2 sentences. And so, Jen and AAG Doan recommended some language that would make those into 1 sentence.
Okay.
But I thought I had it sitting up here.
I think she might have sent it in the text.
Very messy, but it is in the chat.
Okay.
Jennifer Wadsworth, policy advisor.
So
Thank you.
let's see if we can find.
Okay, I'm just gonna put it in the motions document just so you can see
Okay.
it.
So these recommendations are just to combine sentences so that we don't have 2 sentences under a whereas.
Under the whereas, correct.
That's not something
So
we
it's
can do.
not
So let's,
substantive,
okay.
but still
let's
you
read
should
through it
consider.
and see if there's any recommendations or if someone wants to move these. So on the paragraph that says, whereas celebrating 250 years since America's founding, the Utah State Board of Education acknowledges and remembers the foundational principles and truths that have established America's freedom and success, recognizing that a people cannot remain free without a thorough knowledge of those principles. Okay, that's one. And then the other one is, whereas America was founded as a constitutional republic, establishing separation of powers and federalism under a written constitution, thereby avoiding the fatal tendencies of a democracy, and the stability of our republic relies upon self-governance, a principle requiring that citizens govern their own conduct according to the moral virtue and internal conscience, and moral and religious people being, as the founders noted, the only people capable of sustaining a free constitution. So that's the 2 recommendations.
Was it the founders that noted that, or would that be John Adams? Would we say John Adams noted that? Is it okay just to say the founders? I guess people could search that. I don't know, just seeking clarification on that.
He was a founder, but we could, if you wanted to put John Adams' name in, I think there's not a problem with that.
I'm open to see what you all think is best. Emily, what do you think?
This one is, there's still some of the previous language that I like a little bit better. Like I wouldn't want to erase guiding. Because again, it was this conversation. There was a lot of different things that guided the conversation. So I think guiding is it elaborates, it deepens the comprehension of what it took to create what we have. So I wouldn't want to do that.
Okay.
Could we read that the one first and then maybe consider?
Yeah, let's read the first. I'll read the first one again. And I think correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's because of so many ands in there. But let's see. And that's fine. We could leave it in there. It's just I'll read it
Could we
as
just say America's success too? Maybe we don't need freedom there because that's all over. That's in other places. Just a thought. If you're
Okay, let me read through it. Let's see what we can do there. We're
Or
at celebrating.
sorry, I think endurance might be a better word. America's endurance. But
Okay.
Jenny,
Celebrating
can I ask
250.
one question?
Yep, go ahead.
On the end, is it those principles or is it these principles? Because the principles, those makes it sound like they were far away. And aren't we saying we still live by these principles? We still acknowledge and value these? Just
Okay.
agreed.
Okay, that would need to be these then. Do you want me to read through it, or you guys just want to read on your own for a minute?
Yeah, what I would like, so real quick, just to clarify, is this 1 and 5 here is a recommendation that just came forward, right?
Yeah, it was because we had 2 sentences. It was trying to make it into one longer sentence. So
Could we have a minute then just to read it
yes,
as 2 separate sentences?
yes. Let me
Without having to consider this first.
Yeah, let me read it. It's the very first paragraph.
Let me put them next to each other. Hang on. Let me put them next to each other. That will be way easier for you.
Could you send that out to us too? And then could we maybe saunter for 10 minutes and come back?
Yeah, it's actually, I think someone put it in the chat.
It's in the chat.
The whole document?
No, those 2 recommendations, but
Yes, I read those.
Yeah,
I just want to read the full draft.
Okay.
Without these.
Okay. So you want to read the draft 2 as amended to kind of look at the continuity and flow. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, is it possible to send that out as just a quick email? And then Jerry, we're going to take about a 10-minute break for people to read through and see if there's any other pieces they want to adjust, or if the flow of our current document. Okay. Are you there, Jerry?
Alex, can you hear us?
That's all right. If you want to get that sent out, and people can, if we get a hold of our technology people, will have them. You can. Can you can you maybe put us on pause, and we'll let you know when we're ready to get back on? People are just going to read through and take just a quick break. So
yeah, sure thing.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and then welcome back to our Standards and Assessment Committee meeting. We're just picking back up where we left off. We had our staff put together a completed draft of the motions that were made so everybody could read it together, and it took just a minute because we had a couple of paragraphs that needed to be put in the right spot from our amendments. And so thanks for patience, those of you that are listening online. So I'm just going to open the floor. We can either move the document forward the way it is, or if there's additional recommendations, we are open to that at this time.
Maybe oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Member Green.
One minor word is on line 16, where it says, including defense of self, community, and nation, freedom of speech and press. Could we put the press? Instead of saying freedom of speech and press, freedom of speech and the press.
Anybody opposed to that?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'm going to roll that passes unanimously. That seems to be a sound grammatical or clarification there. Any Go ahead. Go ahead, Board
Well,
Member
on
Green.
line 23, I'm just wondering if there isn't a natural new whereas after when on 22 it ends by and thereby avoiding the fatal tendencies of a democracy, and then make a new whereas the stability of our republic relies upon. I think it's a natural whereas there. So I'm wondering if we could go ahead and do that. It's its own thing. So if we're okay with that, I would move that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anybody in opposition to that or would like to discuss that?
No.
Hearing none, I'm going to roll that as passing unanimously. Okay, any others?
Could we put the two together? And I don't know care where they are, but put the recognized historical events in text. So line 17 through 20, and whereas historical primary sources 28, 29, and 30. Whether you move the founding fathers down or the historical, but put all of the references to our historical texts together.
Actually
Does
had
this
an
body-
amendment for those lines.
Does this body have a preference, either moving it down or moving the other up?
We can make, well, before we do that, can I make my amendment for those lines, Chair Earl?
Sure.
Can't see your face, unfortunately.
Oh, sorry, I'll put it back on. I apologize.
Sitting in the dark.
I can't get it to come back on. There we go. Okay, what's your...
Whoops, we just got email. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I just sent it over.
What are we looking for? Or at
I
right now?
think
Sorry.
Board Member
It
Real was
isn't up
making
yet,
an
so
amendment.
just 1 second.
I don't know what.
1
Yeah.
second. I
Hang
just
on.
emailed it over to Leah, so just give her a second.
I'm copying and pasting. Hang on. Okay.
Just
Okay,
want
do
to
you
make a
wanna-
motion to amend lines
16 to
17.
20,
Oh no, yeah, sorry, 17 through 30.
28. Okay.
Read, whereas the founding fathers recognized historical events and texts and as a basis for American law and public policy. Whereas America was founded as a constitutional republic, establishing a separation of powers and federalism under a written constitution, and thereby avoiding the fatal tendencies of a democracy. The stability of a republic relies upon self-governance, a principle of requiring that citizens govern their own conduct according to the moral and virtue and the internal conscience.
Okay, so you would be striking out.
So you would be striking all that's
anything in
in
red.
red. Okay.
Yeah.
So everything that's red would be removed. Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would just speak against that. I think those are important to keep in there for historical context. It is our history. Those are the documents our government was founded on. And so I would highly advocate to keep that in there.
Okay. I would also
And
say
I just was gonna, just gonna say that we say events, but like you can't really say that some of those are events. They're like compilations of writings, and it's just not all inclusive. Like I would include some of the native tribes, like yeah, I can't remember what they called it, but it was like the basically the Iroquois Confederacy when they all came together in New York and had that like peace pact. It's like it's impossible. It just feels like we're picking a few, but also again, as I've mentioned, I think it pulls out the rationale behind, like what all the things that they drew from without having to specifically list them. And I think it's more digestible and will be more engaging for our students. So that's my reasons.
I wonder if events is correct wording, if it should just say
I don't think it is.
historical
Yeah.
texts. I think we should strike.
I can't really
events
say the 10
again.
commandments were, like you can say,
Yeah, because that was an actual document as well. Like the 10
Yeah.
commandments did form a basis for our law. Like it was a foundation.
But I think you could, if you went I wouldn't strike through that on this motion that I made though, because I think it works
Yeah.
to stay historical events and text in this motion. I mean, feel free to vote for it however you'd wish, but this is, I think, a little bit more digestible, and it still pulls out the pieces that the points we're trying to make without specifically listing. I also just don't like saying that where was it? Moral and religious people, and they are the only capable of sustaining a free constitution. I just I don't think that for me, like the way that I see it, like there are immoral and non-religious people that are still protected in our government. And so I don't think that is a great quote. I really like John Adams, but I don't like that quote. So I think that it gives the wrong idea and message there out of context.
Well, and I don't know, I look at a lot of the writings and think Thomas Jefferson was quoted talking about the firm basis for liberty was for people to remember that liberty is a gift from God. Without that, like, we don't have inalienable rights. Like that was such a key difference in why we were different. That the rights weren't given to us by government, but that they come from a creator.
Yeah.
Right.
And I hear you. I hear you. I just I personally don't believe that. I just consider them natural rights of the human being. And so I don't think of it as like a god or creator. And so that doesn't apply to me. I see where they came from in that perspective, and I totally get what you're saying, but it doesn't apply to me. So if I'm one person on a board of 15, there has to be students or parents out there that agree with me. So that's kind of why I've been trying to avoid those, because I just feel like they can be a little bit differing of opinions on that throughout our state with the different folks we have. So vote however you like, but this is, I think, a simplified version without those details.
Okay, and I would not be in favor of this motion. I do think that there are some basis for self-governance, that it does stem, and there was extensive research that was done and a study of peoples in order to come to some of those conclusions. And so even the moral and religious people piece has to do with, if there's not a moral society is what sustains and obeys law and governance. So for me, I think these are, I don't mind these in here.
But I do think you could say that without saying it. So I think saying the moral piece is important too.
I do think that we are recalling history 250 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're calling it. It's not so much now, it's recognizing what birthed this nation. And so, and they are closer to that period of time than we are. Therefore, they were able to articulate the injustices of the world in a different way than we will ever understand. And it is our duty and obligation to look back in that time, recognize that time frame, what ruled and reigned the world, what lands were dominated by what belief systems, and that is itself what makes America what it is. It's not about us today. This is a remembrance of what birthed these guiding foundational principles, commemorating America's 250th birthday. But I'm ready to vote.
Yeah, okay. All right, unless I hear anyone else make a comment, I think let me go ahead and read this. Could you go down just a little bit on that? Okay, so it would read, whereas the founding fathers recognized historical events and text striking, such as the Ten Commandments, the Mosaic Law, the New Testament, and the experiences of the ancient Hebrews, Greeks, Romans, the English common law and Magna Carta, and the English Bill of Rights, and leaving in as a basis for American law and public policy. And then the next stanza reads, whereas America was founded as a constitutional republic, establishing separation of powers and federalism under a written constitution, and thereby avoiding the fatal tendencies of a democracy. The stability of our republic relies upon self-governance, a principle requiring that citizens govern their own conduct according to the moral virtue and internal conscience, and striking, a moral and religious people being, as the founders noted, the only people capable of sustaining a free constitution. And then the next paragraph says, whereas historical primary sources, including the Northwest Ordinance of 1787 record that religion, morality, and knowledge are a necessary good. I wonder if we need another. A necessary good government and the happiness of mankind, and therefore must be encouraged through our schools. So that last stanza would be stricken as well. Okay, all those in favor of this amendment? No one's, Sarah, did you want to vote for your amendment?
I just said aye.
Oh, sorry, it didn't come through on my end. Maybe it came. All those opposed?
Nay.
No.
Nay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that fails. Board Member Rill in favor, Board Member Green, Board Member Brinton, Board Member Wood, Board Member Earl opposed. Okay, but there was a recommendation. Did we already vote on that? Sorry, now I'm not remembering. That we did move that into a separate stanza, right? The stability.
Right. You were
Okay.
working on my request to bring the historical texts and primary sources together, whether it's moving.
Oh, that's right. Thank you for the remembering or reminding me. So the question is whether to move it up or down. Leanne, do you have a preference, or does anyone else have a preference?
I would move it down right before the other stanza on 28. I would move 17 through 20 below 27, line 27. That's what I would think.
Okay. So let's see.
Jen, do you want me to copy and paste both together into the motions doc?
Yeah, that would be great.
Yes, just so we can remember
Okay.
if we get
I'm
going
going
here.
down here. Hang on. So it would be moving this down to this one, right?
Mhm.
All right, let's make sure we've got it in the. Is that the recommendation there? Any discussion to that?
It's not just, was it amended to read or amended to move?
Yeah, it's just moved.
Okay.
Yeah, move that.
Be
Move
moved.
17 to 20
Line 17 through 20 be moved to
line 28.
Above line 28 or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion to that motion? Okay, all those in favor?
aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Okay,
Oh,
I think that was
sorry.
just
Hold
one
on.
no.
I didn't
Sorry.
vote. I'm
Oh,
still
You're
trying
okay.
to-
My apologies.
That's okay.
Just
Lines.
a minute, free to look at that.
So I'm just trying to, again, we are moving lines 17 to 20 to be moved to above line 28.
Yes, so, and I can read this out so that we know the order. So on 24, it's where, okay. So above it would be, whereas the stability of our republic relies upon self-governance, the principle requiring a citizen governing their own conduct according to moral virtue and eternal conscience, a moral and religious people being, as the founders noted, the only people capable of sustaining a free constitution. And then it would go into, whereas the founding fathers recognized the historical events and text, and it would finish that. Then the next one would be, whereas historical primary sources, including the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. So, Board Member Green, just when you're ready, if you want to let us know what your vote would be.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 4 in favor, Board Member Wood, Board Member Earl, Board Member Brinton, Board Member Green, and Board Member Rill opposed. Okay, I would actually propose up on line 5 that we just, where it says nation and a people, we just add an and there.
That's what I was asking about.
Yeah, that we just, I think if we just add an and, then we're keeping the language the way it is, and it just flows. I can read that out. So it'd be, let's see, and truths that have established and given birth to America's freedom and success as a nation. It'd probably be a semicolon, right? And a people cannot remain free without a thorough knowledge of those principles. Is there any discussion to that?
Can we move it to these?
Yeah, we already.
Oh, yeah, these, yeah, can we change those principles to these principles as well? Thank you for remembering.
There's also a those on line 6 that needs to be changed to these,
Yeah, that's what,
right? Is that where?
yeah, that's what we were just doing, so. Okay.
Chair Earl, I think I
Yes.
might be on the wrong line. Did you say that was line 15?
No.
Just
The
an
and is between 5 and 6. It's at the very end of 5 and start of 6.
So instead of the period, you want an and?
Yes, just put an and there.
Gotcha.
Just grammatically too on line 16.
Hold on, let's finish
Okay,
this and then
okay.
we'll,
Okay, sorry.
that's okay. Let's, for staff too, so they're not getting confused. And then we change those to these on that line 6. Okay. Okay, any discussion to that? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Okay, that thing passed unanimously. Any other changes?
Did you want to change constitution to nation? Did we already do that?
We have
Right
not.
here on
Joanne,
line
did you
24?
want to do that?
Yes, I would like to make a motion to take it's wait, let's see, right above that to take the and out and put a semicolon instead of a comma on and that
After which word? Virtue? No.
on line 22. Wait, well, that's where it was. Is that where it was? Principal? Oh,
It was up above because we broke this into 2 stanzas, so it was after written constitution.
That's right.
Is it necessary now? Will you look at that and see? It's on line 19.
Yeah, on line 19, I would move that we put a semicolon after Constitution and strike and.
Dr. Voorhees, that motion is a little bit farther up on the motions doc. Sorry.
Oh, yes, you did. You had that typed up. Now I remember that I saw that.
Fine. Yeah, it's just a little bit farther up if you want to scroll up on the motions doc.
Okay, hang on just a sec. I'm going to remove this strike through and make it an underline so I remember it in the doc.
Okay.
All right, I'm with you.
Right there. All right, thank you. Does that look right, Member Brenton?
Yes, except now we need to say line 19 instead of line 22.
Okay, is there any discussion to that particular item?
No.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, are there any additional
Any
motions?
opposed? Did you want to
Oh,
add?
sorry, any opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously.
And then I want to make a motion. It's now line 24 to strike the word Constitution and replace it with nation.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? I think that was unanimous unless I missed someone.
Jenny, can you read your very first paragraph again with the and? I may vote to reconsider because as I'm reading it in my head, it sounds really weird, but maybe when
Okay,
you read it
sure.
aloud, it won't sound.
I think it needs a semicolon after nation though.
It doesn't sound right.
Okay, so maybe we need to adjust that a little bit more then. Celebrating 200, whereas celebrating 250 years since America's founding, the Utah State Board of Education acknowledges and remembers the guiding and foundational principles and truths that have established and given birth to America's freedom and success as a nation. So if we did a semicolon, and a people cannot remain free without a thorough knowledge of these principles. Does that need to be cleaned up a little bit more still?
I just wonder if it should say and their people. Would that sound better than a people? Or her people as America's people?
Or it could be our nation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a success of a nation.
Is people in the Declaration of Independence, though?
Yeah, I'm not sure. What does it say in the Declaration for that?
Or is that language from there?
So this is what it would look like if you changed it to her, just so you can see it in context.
It does say in the Declaration of Independence, it refers to the people. So I think in keeping it to people probably would
Say the people.
be appropriate. I don't know what we're getting hung up on with the
Yeah, maybe.
there. I kind of like it. Period. Nation. Period. A people because it's a statement.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay to keep it the way it is.
The only reason why we can't do a period is that you don't normally have two paragraphs, I mean two sentences in one whereas.
A resolution is a single sentence.
So we can
there's
either
no
make another
periods.
whereas, or we
can you do a dash? Can you just add a dash? A people cannot remain free without a thorough, or do we need another whereas? A people cannot remain free without a thorough knowledge of these principles. But then I think that might be better said at the bottom. Or is it already said at the bottom?
it could it be thus a people, do you know what I mean? So it's saying thus a people cannot remain free
Like
without a
this.
thorough knowledge. And then take out the and, so thus a people cannot, I don't know, thoughts from this body?
I like this.
Mm-hmm. I like this. That's fine.
Okay. Probably better vote on that. So
Okay, hang on.
wait.
We've got to draft that.
Wait just a second here. Any other comments to that or suggestions?
We're going back down to the bottom, Jen. Yep, there you are. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So, and I'll read that out. So that would then say, I'll just read the bottom of that. And truths that have been established, the truths that have established and given birth to America's freedom and success as a nation. Thus, a people cannot remain free without a thorough knowledge of these principles. That sounds a lot better. Any other comments to that? Otherwise, we'll take a vote. Not hearing anyone. Okay, all those in favor of changing and to thus? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, any opposed? Okay, that sounds like it passed unanimously. Any other items? If not, we can take a final motion. Oh, wait just a minute. Okay. I'm going to make the motion that we have before us, which is to approve draft. We're on draft 2, right? Draft 2 as amended. And okay, let me get the right language though. What are we titling this? So the motion before the committee is that the committee pass draft 2 as amended, resolution commemorating America's 250th birthday and her guiding foundational principles. Any final discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Okay. So tell me if I got this right. Board Member Earl, Board Member Wood, Board Member Green, and Board Member Brinton were in favor. Board Member Rill was in opposed. Okay, and I think that was the only item on our agenda today, so I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I'll make a final motion that we adjourn.
Okay, the motion before the committee is to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, have a good afternoon. Thanks everyone
Thank
for
Thank
your
you.
work.
Thank you,
Your work,
staff, for
everybody.
putting that all
Thank you,
together.
staff.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.